Hello and welcome back to another episode of Ruby Summer Rose Court. To recap where we left off last time, Ruby has opened the third and final portal to Spiritus Bellatorum, which is where Nikos resides, and upon venturing inside, we find out that the Civil War is actually a war for survival against man-made monsters known as Chimera. And so Ruby and Pyrrha have joined forces and are currently leading an assault on where they believe the nest is. So, let's dive right back in. Pyrrha gets us moving the second we wake up, snaking back through the tunnels with some of her soldiers to the outskirts of the city. The trip really isn't that bad. Pyrrha knows this place like the back of her hand, and with her in the lead, we make it to the gate without alerting any of the Chimera. It's close though, they're all over the city, or what remains of it anyway. I remember the stories of soaring towers and statues that gleamed like gold, not broken ruins and shattered marble. Guess Pyrrha's not the only one with broken expectations. After an hour of moving as quietly as possible, we find a spot hidden behind some of the rubble. We have a good view of the gate, but the rocks and fallen columns make us almost invisible. We wait in silence, too nervous to even speak in case it brings more of those monsters down on our heads. Everyone looks really tense, well, except for Pyrrha. Captain Nikos is the first one on her feet when the portal opens, sword in hand, her eyes scanning for any approaching monsters. Her soldiers jump to the ready, and Blake and I rush forward. A second later, Ozpin's graying head and dapper green cloak pop through the gate. He lands with a click and his hard-soled shoes hit the flagstones. Ozpin! I can't believe Glinda let you come back. I can't believe you think she let me. Incidentally, she may be somewhat testy when we return. But when is she not? Oh, Weiss and Yang are here. Weiss and Yang walk through the portal right behind them, the Knights Offland and Beacon's troops in tow. Wow, everyone's here. The warriors march in perfect single-file lines, the polished weapons and armor sparkling in the sunlight. The two young women pace each other all the way out, an impressive feat since Weiss has to take an extra step for every two of Yang's. Why do I get the feeling they argued over who got to go first? Jean pops through right behind them. The Queen's Guard looks rather green after his first trip across the plains. After a second, he clutches his mouth and ducks behind a pillar as the sound of retching fills the ruins. Penny! Penny's here! Oh my god, yes! Oh, yes! Penny is already smiling when she comes out. She looks around her at the ruined temple, open awe in her expression. It's her first trip through the portals, I think, but she doesn't seem to be badly affected by it. Last one out of the gate are Ren and Nora, the portal closing seconds after they pass through. Ren's hands immediately go to his weapons, but nothing quite beats the image of Nora, hammer in hand, looking around excitedly for something to hit. See? What'd I tell you? Nothing to worry about. We get to see Penny again. Fascinating. I thought it would be far more difficult. Yep, easy as steak and kidney pie. Ugh, speak for yourself. You all came. I thought it would just be Ozpin and a few soldiers. Of course we came. I'm combat ready. Ah! She said it. Oh my god. Oh my god, I love her so much. Thank you, SR team, for putting in this line. Thank you so much. Oh my god. Oh, such a great image. But do you know how to use that thing? She has the sword from her prison strapped to her back. That is badass. She's taking the sword that impaled and locked her in prison as her weapon? Holy shit. That's so hardcore, Penny. Wow. Kinda. I was created to be able to fight and run and do everything humans can do. Oh, also, she lifts up both arms, a look of concentration on her face, and then slowly, you see familiar stone vines crawl out under her sleeves, metal thorns glinting with malice. I do still have a bit of crescent rose in me. Does that count as a weapon? Oh. Yeah, I think that counts. I would be a poor knight if I let my liege go unprotected. Plus, did you really think I was gonna let you fight a horde of monsters without me? No way one of the Queen's Guard was staying behind. I'm here to kill Grim and eat noodles. And I'm all out of noodles. Yeah, that was my lunch. Oh my god, this is great. I'm taking so many screenshots right now. This is just perfect. Like, she's so surprised. I imagine this is like a pretty great day for Pyrrha. I glance over at Pyrrha, only to find her staring, awestruck by the troops assembled in front of her. This might be the first time in years she's had a real reason to hope. We only run into a few of the monsters on our way to the access tunnel. Pyrrha's troops, Weiss's knights, and my soldiers make short work of them. There isn't a single Chimera in sight once we get to the entrance. There aren't any tracks either. The floor is lined with a thick layer of dust, and Yang has to break the rusted handle off the hatch before we can enter. I wonder if the size of our group is scaring them off. The tunnel is small and tight, and we have no choice but to go down single file. You know, I really hope this isn't a trap, because if it was... After a bit of jockeying, we managed to make it work, with me and my court in front, followed by Weiss's knights, and finally Ozpin with the castle guard. Gingerly, Blake steps up to the tunnel, hands tensing around her weapons as she stares into the darkness. I'll go in first. Are you sure? I have better night vision than anyone here. Plus, if anyone with a torch goes in front of me, I'll be light blinded anyway. I don't think Blake should go in alone. Oh. I'm trying to think of who would best be suited with Blake, like fighting wise. Like obviously from the TV show, like Yang, but maybe Weiss, Yang, or I. Well, since Yang's semblance is based around fire, like that's pretty bright, and that could potentially blind Blake if they got into a fight and Yang had to rely on her semblance. So maybe Yang isn't the right answer. So that narrows it down to Weiss or I. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but like I'm just really nervous about situations like this. I don't know. Maybe I should go with you. Okay, I'll be right behind you. Are you sure? Shouldn't you be back with Ozpin leading your troops? No, I'm not going to be the kind of leader who sits back and lets everyone else put themselves in danger. I'm not ordering anyone to take risks I'm not willing to do myself. Plus, this way I can make sure you're safe, in case something happens. Okay, Ruby, okay. Blake just stares at me for a second, mouth half open like she has something she wants to say. Shaking her head, she turns back to the tunnel. The tunnel seems to go on forever. It's barely been 20 minutes, and it still feels like we've been down here for hours. Everyone's on edge. It's hot and stuffy, getting steadily warmer as we go deeper underground. The cramped space isn't helping, neither is the worry that a chimera might jump out of the darkness at any moment. I'm really starting to hate these tunnels. It should get wider after a few minutes. Does it get less slimy and creepy too? 'Cause that'd be great. I promise you, it'll be fine. Come on, it shouldn't be much farther. She's right. After a few more minutes, Blake waves for us to stop. Up ahead is another large bronze hatch, a massive locking wheel set into the front. That's the problem with this plan. If we come out into a horde of Chimera, there's nowhere for us to go. We'll run right into the soldiers packed in behind us. Luckily, Blake manages to open the hatch with only a few minor squeaks. Slowly, as quietly as possible, we step out into the complex, alert for any sign of movement. There's nothing here. After a few minutes, we manage to get everyone out of the tunnel. My eyes start to wander as the groups form back up. The room is made of carved stone and metal, with what look like been workstations scattered around. Everything is still. Absolutely, completely still. This place feels more like a graveyard than a factory. Keep moving. There's more rooms to clear. I nod, and we spread out our forces. I have never seen technology like this before. You're probably just not used to non-dust-based engineering. You're from Mishklas, correct? A familiar stiffness enters Sershni's shoulders. She stands up straighter, her face a mask of cool indifference. Yes. Sorry you had to see us like this. Oh, I get it. Weiss was, expecting some, I don't know, passive-aggressive comment, but, it's actually Pura just being super humble and grounded and nice and kind, and, well, I guess Weiss was taken aback. To my surprise, her pale cheeks start turning pink. I don't see why you feel the need to apologize, Captain. Turning, Blake regards them with narrowed eyes, her ears falling flat against her skull. Weiss, stop shouting. Sershni turns her glare on Blake and hisses back. I'm not shouting. I roll my eyes and keep moving. Every so often, there's a large, clear, cylindrical tube of what looks like glass. Most are shattered, and small specks of broken shards crunch beneath my boots whenever I walk past one. What was this place? The record said it was some sort of smithy or forge. Probably weapons and armor for the troops, chariots, and that sort of thing. Pura? Yes? I don't think it was those kinds of weapons. Pura moves over to me and freezes as she stares at the first intact tank I've found. Inside is a very dead Chimera, floating limp in the liquid. What looks like copper strings run from needles embedded in its skin, curling up towards the top of the tube. Well, Ruby did say you guys made them. There did kinda have to be a place where they got made. I'm about to follow the others when I notice Penny's no longer with us. I look back and find her with her hand pressed against the tank, head cocked as she stares at the lifeless beast inside. You alright? Penny jerks with surprise, whirling to look at me, a big smile plastered on her face. Oh yes, right as rain. She hurries back to the others. Aw. I wonder what's eating her. Slowly, we make our way deeper into the mine, Blake in the lead with Pura close behind. After the second room, I lose track of how many tubes I've seen. The whole place seems to be full of them. Unfortunately, most are cracked and empty, a sign of all the monsters we'll have to kill. Finally, Pura leads us to a door with a rotting wood sign labeled Testing Area. Checking the hinges, Blake eases the door open, just enough to peer through the crack into the room. Looks like we found the nest. Without making a sound, she moves back, motioning for me to take her place. I swallow and step forward to peek through. The door opens onto a catwalk, set into the side of a massive room. The whole place is carved stone and rusted iron, metal tanks still filled with that green slime. 2 staircases go down each wall, leading to the floor below. I can't see much more than that, mainly because the area below us is completely covered in Chimera. There isn't an inch of floor that doesn't have one of the stitched-together monsters writhing and snarling atop it. Ooh. Stepping back, I close the door as carefully as I can and turn back to the forces. Right. My forces. It's okay. You've got this. Okay, there's a lot of them down there. It's probably best if we split by teams, try to maneuver around them as much as possible. Weiss, take your knights and circle down to the left. Ozpin and Beacon soldiers will go right. Ren and Nora, you're with Weiss. Penny, I'm with you, Your Highness. Screen cap. Have you ever seen something so beautiful in your life? Even in such a dark moment like this, Penny's smile is just so radiant. Oh my god. That's really sweet of her. The Queen's Guard will go with Osmond's troops. They can use the extra firepower. Perfect. Blake and I can take the middle with Pyrrha. As the door creaks, every head in the room starts to turn, and all of the Chimera go completely still as they glare up at us. they noticed us. Oh god. Ruby's cringe face is perfect for that line. That was excellent. For a moment, nothing happens. Just a stretch of silence with the monsters below staring up at the warriors come to exterminate them. One of the beasts begins to snarl, turning to a full-blown howl as it bares its fangs and rushes for the stairs. Yang, do the thing! On it. Wait, what's the thing? Yang is already leaping off the handrail when the first Chimera charges forward. Her aura sparks around her hand as she falls, hurtling down towards the horde below. This! With one ear-splitting shout, she slams her fist into the ground, hitting a perfect three-point landing, and setting off a shockwave of heat and flame. It's not nearly the size of the blast she can let off back home, but she makes it work. She slams into one Chimera after another, bone and sinew giving way before her aura-boosted knuckles. Ah, that thing. Beacon's castle guards aren't far behind, taking the slower and less reckless path down the stairs. As a unit, they sweep to the left of the room, and soon the air fills with a clashing of enchanted steel and blasts of semblance. Safe here, watch the flank. On it, Commander. Everybody down. I duck, catching a glimpse of Sir Gallius grabbing Lancelin by the back of the head and shoving them down. One of Agravain's dust grenades goes off, leaving a ringing in my ears and blasting a swarm of Chimera apart. Every so often, I can see the massive head of Nora's hammer as she and Ren make their way through the fray, thunder booming in the enclosed space. Pyrrha's hoplites follow them down, angling off to the side once they hit the ground floor. Their experience fighting the Chimera makes up for their battered armor and chipped weapons. Turning back to my allies, I meet Blake's eyes and hold out my hand. Care for a lift? So flirty, Ruby. She looks at me for a second, then sighs and places her hand in mine. Do it. Toss me. Calling on as much of my semblance as I can, I push off the balcony, throwing us down into the heart of the crowd. Penny drops down right behind us, leaving a small crater in the ground where she lands. Little Thorn whips around me as I cut into first one Chimera, then another. Ecor sprays into the air as one of the monsters flinches back, then leaps for Blake instead. Oh no you don't! I slam the butt of my glaive into its head, knocking it to the floor. A howl comes from my left. I turn, only to find another one charging for me, too quick to do anything about it. Just before it reaches me, it jerks to a halt, its eyes wide as it thuds to the ground. With a grunt, Blake yanks her scythe from its spine. She meets my eyes over the corpse of the monster, just for a moment, and then we're back into the melee, slicing in every direction. Stay close to me. Don't have to tell me twice. Little Thorn's reach lets me keep them at bay while Blake's moves to put her back to mine, her chain scythe rattling in the air. I just wonder how long we can keep this up. I almost get my answer as one of the Chimeras sidesteps past my guard, knocking one of Pyrrha's hoplites to the ground. It lunges towards me, slicing towards my throat. Get away from her! In a flash of light, Yang appears at my side. Her fist swings and a blast of fire immolates the monster where it stands. The charred corpse goes flying back into the swarm, knocking a few others off their feet. Thanks, Yang. Yang just nods before grabbing one of the Chimera by the scruff of the neck and slamming it into the floor. I lose sight of her a few seconds later in the mass of fighters and monsters. Lightning and arrows arc across the room as Nora and the troops hit with their weapons, explosions rocking the room every so often as Agravain sends more monsters flying. The massive flower petals rush by me, reassuring and uplifting as it redirects the claws and fangs around me, ensuring none of them land successfully. Fire blasts across the room, sending a Chimera tripping right into one of Weiss's glyphs. Got him! A little more warning next time would be nice, Yang. Then, so quickly that I can't remember when the battle started to turn, the last one falls, the tip of Blake's scythe planted in its spine. Wow. For a good minute, I try to catch my breath. Blood and who knows what is everywhere, as are the bodies of the monsters we just cut down. Unlike true Grimm, they don't just fade away, their lingering corpses serving as grisly reminders of the battle. You know, just once, I'd like things to be easy. Yang collapses by my side, arms limp with exhaustion. We show up, shake some hands, establish diplomatic relations, and nothing gets attacked or murdered. Just once. Blake just snorts. Right, then we braid each other's hair and drink cocoa with marshmallows. The Grimm surrender, the menagerie walls are torn down, and Faunus can walk the market streets without worrying about arrested on trumped-up charges. Maybe there will even be a parade. I'm just saying that not running into yet another problem would be a nice change. Perhaps, but where would be the fun in that? Once the last Chimera has fallen, Osmond starts directing people to escort the wounded back through the portals above, and to make sure the rest of the facility is clear. Sarshni has her knights dispatch every last Chimera still twitching. Anything I should be doing? Just leave this to me, Ruby. That's not really what I wanted to hear. With a sigh, I rock back on my heels before glancing around. I wonder where Pyrrha went off to. Heading further into the labs, I stare around me curiously at rows and rows of unfamiliar technology. Pyrrha is fiddling with some sort of machine on a dais, pulling a lever and searching for something. What are these big box things? Oh, it's an analytical engine. I found a memory block here that we can read with it. What's an analytical engine? Oh, you don't have them? I shake my head. Sorry, I assumed you know, considering your charming automaton friend is very similar. It's a machine that can store information and run calculations. You can also connect it to other machines to share information and instructions. So, if you hook a lot of different machines up to it, it could be really useful. Perhaps? I don't really know how they work. I'm a soldier, not a scientist. We just had to know how to use them. Like I said, they're a recent development. I don't expect they have much use outside facilities like this. A smile lights up her face. Oh look, dust! Could you go ahead and attach it over there? A cache of ice crystals is nearby. I press one into the slot on the console and shiver as a sudden chill takes over the room. Have to make sure they don't overheat. We can salvage the rest of our supplies once we have the information we need. Pyrrha examines the analytical engine and flips several switches. Then, pulling a lever, Pyrrha grins in victory as the engine hums to life. Now we just need to... The engine emits a loud buzz in protest, and a light flashes red. Pyrrha frowns and searches the face of the machine for something. Spotting it, she pulls a gray box from a slot. The memory block must have some dust in it. Regular dust. She blows into the cartridge and slots it back in place. The lights switch to a satisfied green. What exactly are we looking for? Information on the Chimera produced here. Pyrrha fiddles with a few more dials, watching the machine as its hidden parts click and whir. Finally, the whirring grows still, and Pyrrha nods to herself, satisfied. I have no idea what is going on. Pyrrha presses another button, and a series of focused clacks begin to sound from lower down in the machine. To my surprise, a slip of paper begins to slide out from a slot in the engine. We're in luck! The machine can print out its records. We should probably get going. There might be some kind of danger still here. Do we have time to go over them right now? I thought we were going to sweep in here and get out as quickly as we could. Just one moment, please, Ruby. I just want to get a good look at them before handing them to the Archon. Alrighty, this is your plane, Pyrrha, so you should know better than me. Reclining against one of the huge engines, Pyrrha takes the sheaves of paper and starts reading over them carefully. There's probably a lot of science to dig through before Pyrrha can find anything relevant. This is gonna take a while, huh? Pyrrha spares me a single glance before nodding. She returns to the files, absorbed in whatever she's reading. I should check on everyone else, make sure they're okay. I'm wondering if that will lead to anything. I only have time to check on 2 people. Who will I speak to? Ah, well, obviously we're going to talk to the Bae, so we'll save her for last, but I'm wondering if talking to Nora and Ren, does that count for 1 person or 2 people? But since they're together, it makes me feel like they're counted as 1. It's really funny how the game just... They're a unit. They're a couple. Get over it. So 2 people. 2 people. Let's talk to Weiss. Sershny is prowling the floor. She and her knights inspect each corpse they come across to ensure every Chimera is dead. There's bound to be more of them lurking in some of these locked rooms. Be sure none of you let your guard down. I don't want any more sloppy work. As I approach, I notice that she keeps lifting up the back of her arm to wipe away blood flowing freely down her face. Sloppy like letting your unhealed wounds reopen? She turns to face me, her mouth clamping shut in embarrassment. She's got you there, Commander. You have been applying the poultices I made, right? I have been. Every night? Every other night. Well, that's why they're not working. Stop fussing over me, all of you. Focus on your mission. The knights, to their credit, snap to attention and part, going in pairs to assist Pyrrha's troops in securing the perimeter. Sershny sighs and wipes at her forehead once more. How'd you get that? Carelessness. Help, Weiss? Let me see. Sershny frowns deeply. There's no need. Forehead wounds bleed profusely, but they are not serious. It will seal up in due time. Yeah, but if we bump into any more baddies, I don't want you blinded. Here. I pull a roll of bandages and a small jar of medicinal herbs from my belt pouch. Your Majesty, save your supplies for an emergency. From not too far off, one of her knights yells. Just take the damn meds, Commander! Back to your post! Do not make me come over there! Oh my god, this is great. Her composure slips in her frustration, a glimpse of what she and her knights are like when not on duty, and then she freezes, eyes flicking over to me. Ahem. She stands up taller. If you insist, I suppose it would be rude to decline your kindness. So what happened? Sershny closes her eyes, letting out a sigh of frustration. I reflexively try to draw up a shield with my magic. A careless mistake. Reopened wounds is the least I deserve. You don't deserve any kind of pain at all, you weirdo. Take care of yourself. I'm going to check on the others. Yes, Your Majesty. Boom. I notice Penny's no longer with us. Concerned, I eventually find her in an alcove surrounded by Chimera tanks. From her sleeves, a series of vines snake out and press against one of the tanks. Head cocked, she stares at the lifeless beast inside before putting her palms on the glass as well. Hey, you alright? Penny jerks with surprise, the vines disappearing back down her sleeves. She whirls to look at me, a big smile plastered on her face and her hands behind her back. Oh yes, right as rain. No malfunctions whatsoever. No malfunctions, huh? Mm-hmm. But just because everything's working right, it doesn't mean you can't still feel off. I go stand next to her, looking up at the Chimera's suspended body. Does this place make you feel bad? It takes her a long time to answer, smile fading as her eyes slide back to the floating Chimera in its jar. They were made, just like me. So this is what's been bothering her. It's not the same. It's not really the same thing. I mean, they're animals, right? And you're mechanical. It's not like the Grim could infect you too. I suppose you are right. But I guess that's not what you were worried about. No. I just keep wondering, is this how my father made me? Locked in a tube? I don't know, Penny. The people who made these things, they were desperate. They wanted a weapon that would end the war, and in a really awful way. It kind of worked. You can say a lot about your father, but he made you to help, Edubige, right? I mean, he did kill a bunch of people in his experiments and probably drained their auras or did something equally nightmarish to fuel you. And when Edubige still died, he blamed you and left you to die with a sword in your chest. Oh, Ruby, stop. In a basement. Ruby, stop. Oh my god, stop digging yourself in further, Ruby. Okay, what I'm trying to say is he wasn't the best person, but he didn't design you to hurt people. You weren't made to be a weapon. Don't know if it helps, but, well, maybe that counts for something. Penny doesn't say anything for a while, just staring at the floating chimera in its sludge-filled tube. It looks so sad. Looks like it would tear our throats out, given a chance. Sympathize with her. Yeah, I guess it does. Gently, I put my hand on her shoulder, if only to remind her that I'm still here. She leans into me for a second, then pulls away, heading back to the group. She leaned into us for a second before pulling away. Actually, I think I can check on one more person. Oh, how convenient. I was supposed to save Penny for last, but okay. I would say Nora and Ren are pretty composed. Well, let's check up on John. This is pretty horrifying for him, I imagine. You know, to go from regular city guard to Queen's Guard, and then to fighting Chimera in a different plane. Like, that must be really hard to digest. Laid up with the other injured, John is keeled over, a mass of red bandages wrapped around his leg and foot. Oh no! I run over to him. Jean, are you okay? He looks up sharply when I call his name, before grimacing in pain. Yeah. You don't look okay. What happened? I hurt my foot. Skeptical, I get down on one knee to take a look at the damage. Yeah, no kidding. This is awful. Ooh. He chuckles, looking a little pale. Yeah, he kinda... The tip of his sword wavers, but he gestures over at a few fallen chimera. That one, he kinda got me like a terrier with a rat, you know? Oh, Jean. Let me go get a medic. I'll be right back. I rush to the nearest medic I can find. After a quick explanation, and probably a little bias towards my status, she follows me to John. Let me see the wound. Yeah, it's this leg. You knew that, probably. She unwraps the bandages, roughly handling Jean to inspect the wound. He winces with every way she twists him about, and I find myself flinching in sympathy every time Jean does. He's fine, just some surface scratches. Put something on to prevent infection and keep pressure on it. Oh, thank God. So it's just some scratches. I was starting to think, like, is he gonna have to get his foot amputated? Like, because it sounded pretty severe. But thankfully it's not. Okay. Without any ceremony, she abruptly gets up and goes back to checking on the others. Wait, what? But his wounds were really bad. Oh. Ooh, okay. Okay, so in season 5 of Ruby, it turns out that Jean's aura is actually that he can heal people. So I'm wondering, did the SR crew rework that bit of information last minute to this part? Or did they guess? And it just so happened to be in line with the canonical show? I'm really curious about this. That's really interesting. So it looked like he had, yeah, it sounded really serious. Like there was like bandages around his foot. He's very, very pale. He sounds very, very sickly and, like aloof. But like the medic just comes over and is like, oh, it's just some surface scratches. So it's like, huh. So it sounds like his wound is healing. Maybe I had imagined it out of concern for his well-being. He starts setting the bandages back in place, but I stop him to take another look. Ruby, you really shouldn't be kneeling in front of me. That's super not good. Hush for a second, John. Your wounds really have healed? But there's so much blood. How do you feel? Still really tingles, but I think I can walk. To prove it, he takes a few steps back, rather quickly, in fact. All better. Holy smokes, I'm actually better? Wait. Could this possibly be your semblance? What? I could have sworn you were cut right to the bone, but now you're fine. Jean, I think you can heal. This is awesome. I don't know. I feel like while both of these answers are like positive, I feel like one of them could be, I feel like either of them could be like misinterpreted. So when you say this is awesome, he could reply with, oh, so me being healed after being injured is awesome. He could say that. But like keep practicing up until you can control it. That might sound like a bit like condescending. Like, I don't know. I mean, surely he would understand that we're happy for his speedy recovery, so this is awesome. Do you know how many people wish they had a semblance like this? Oh, I wouldn't have worded it like that, maybe, but he bounces his knees a bit, testing his weight on his leg. Well, I've always recovered quickly from sprains and things, and I never get sick. But when other people use their semblance, there's a lot of flash and stuff. Control will come with time. I was shedding rose petals and randomly vibrating for a year before I figured out what my semblance was. Vibrating. That is strangely comforting. He might have more control than he thinks. I mean, how else has he survived as a city guard for this long? It's probably best not to say something like that to him now, though. Well, if my leg is working, I should probably stick close to you in case you need me. Queen's Guard and all that. Bleh, I hate it when you and Yang do that. Yeah, but I gotta. I need to earn my keep. Otherwise, I'm just like your official best friend. You are my official best friend. I need a normal person around me to talk to, or I'll go crazy. Is that really why you made me Queen's Guard? No. No. This is starting to feel like Pyrrha and John's talk in season 2, when like Pyrrha tries to train John, but then John's like, you think I need your help? And starts to get all like mansplainy and whatever, but that's what I'm getting the vibe of. No, I mean, sort of. Just take it easy for a little bit, John. See if the medics need an extra pair of hands. I'll shout if I need you. Okay, John wobbles on his feet before he sits down on a chunk of stone. I'll just guard this vicinity. I'm counting on you. And then, just then, a sharp cry makes me look up in alarm. Pyrrha? Running back to the analytical engine room, I skid to a halt with my weapon drawn. Sershny and several of the Knights Offland are right behind me, as well as my court members. Pyrrha! Standing at ease with the file still in her hands, Pyrrha gives me a quick wave. Hello again! Her iconic hello again. I relax, but only slightly. I thought I heard you scream. She ducks her head low, bowing respectfully and apologizing. Sorry, Your Majesty, nothing is... I just got excited by something I read. Sighing, I holster Little Thorn in her strap. Pushing past me, Nora looks around the room in interest. She's especially taken by all the rows and rows of machinery. Oh wow, never thought I'd see something like this again. Penny goes inside as well, closing her eyes and sighing in relief. Feels nice and cool in here. Nora closes her eyes too, a big grin on her lips. Ooh, let's stay in here for a little while. What's going on? Sheathing her sword, Cershni speaks up. Let's not linger here too long, Your Majesty. We should return to our home camp and report to the Archon. My eyes cast downward, noticing the report is crumpled in Pyrrha's hands, bent by a clenched fist. Sure. Go tell Osmond we have what we need and regroup our people for the trip back. Cershni snaps a salute and leaves to do as I say, her knights and all my court members in tow. As they file out, I stay with Pyrrha. She still hasn't moved from her spot, head bowed. A faint tremble runs through her frame. Does nobody realize something's wrong? Hey, Pyrrha? Her head jerks up, green eyes sharp and focused. Yes, Your Majesty? You're sure everything's okay, right? She hesitates, then nods. Although I think there might be more to this facility than we first assumed. Oh boy. Do not be very demanding. You can trust me, Pyrrha. Of course, I know. It's just... She closes her eyes, holding it together for a few moments before the dam breaks. It's all our fault. Just look for yourself. She shuffles through the reports, landing on the page with the most pertinent information. With trembling hands, she passes me the crumpled report and turns away, back to the analytical engine. Trying to ignore the way my heart is pounding in my ears, I unfold the papers and begin to read. The miners dug and dug and dug too deep, and what they found was beyond our wildest nightmares. A grim, mammoth in size, not dead but sleeping, slumbering beneath our feet. We dared not try and kill it, for if we failed, we would become a new Scudabresta. We sealed it, closed the mine, and forbade anyone from entering. We hoped one day we would find a way to end it once and for all, but then the war came and our options ran out. The alchemists experimented too recklessly and without caution. A drop of the Alpha Grimm's blood made the Chimera faster, stronger, smarter, and we needed any edge we could get. I don't understand. They intentionally infected the Chimera with Grimm blood? I look up and am shocked to see tears streaming openly down Pyrrha's face. Pointless. Absolutely pointless. She roughly wipes away at her face, refusing to meet my eyes. I can't believe it. I don't want to believe it. But it makes sense, doesn't it? That's why they turned on you. Her arm whips out, slamming a fist against one of the engines so hard that the copper dents. Why would they do this? I jump, hugging the files close to my chest. I wish there was something I could do or say, but... I avert my eyes until Pyrrha can compose herself. Still, there's a tense silence between us as I continue reading, flipping pages that list out descriptions and drawings of the Alpha Grimm. More than horror, I feel a dawning sense of confusion. This isn't like any species of Grimm I've ever seen. What did they do with it? How did they preserve the blood? I have to take this to Blake and Oobleck. For a moment I wait for a response, but Pyrrha stays resolute and silent. Pyrrha? Is that okay? It's not my decision to make. You're the one in charge here. Take it to the Archon or keep it to yourself. I can't bear to hold it in my thoughts any longer. Stiff-backed, she marches out of the room and joins the rest of our people. I stay in the room until I can compose myself. Then I follow her, making a beeline for Blake. Blake, I have something I need you to see. Her ears flick towards me, curiosity lighting up in golden eyes. Sure, what is it? It's safe enough to tell her here. The noise of booted feet, armor, and many voices means I just have to lower my voice a bit. Pyrrha might have found out how the Chimera were infected by the Grimm. What? Blake, I can't say it out loud. Instead, I hand her the documents, my heart in my throat. Blake reads through it much faster than Pyrrha or I. She keeps her expression carefully neutral, but I can see the faintest spark of panic in her eyes when she meets my gaze again. This does explain how the corruption didn't spread to any other local wildlife. Honestly, this is something of a relief. I don't see how. I was worried we'd get infected somehow too. But if they were intentionally spliced together, It's likely that what had happened is the Chimera started reproducing faster than the soldiers could put them down. How do Grimm reproduce? Nobody really knows how, or how they move from plane to plane without portals. They're too fast, too reclusive, for us to study them safely. Blake trails off. Her face darkens. She frowns deeply, biting her lower lip in thought. Disquieted, I look over at the unanimated Chimera corpses, floating unmoving in their tanks. Grim body parts disintegrate when they're dead. It dawns on me. Many ideas string together, somehow connecting in an instant into one terrible, awful conclusion. Pyrrha! Most of our forces already in full retreat, but Pyrrha had stayed behind with me. First one into battle, last one out. Pyrrha looks up in surprise, along with my court members who also stayed behind. That's exactly why they're still attacking us. My thoughts are in disarray. I run to her and point at one of the Grim Chimera in their tubes. That's why you don't know where they're coming from. Your Majesty, what are you saying? I ignore Cershni, still trying to string my thoughts into words. Pyrrha, that ancient Grim, the Alpha Grim, whatever you want to call it, it's still alive out there. We're thinking of the Chimera like individuals, but they're not. They're like blood from a Grim. They don't dissolve away because the original body is still out there. And it's controlling them, and it's probably making more even without this facility. Pyrrha stands perfectly still, the blood draining from her face. So these Chimera won't stop until we destroy the source. If what these documents say is true, then yes, most likely. My head starts pounding, pulse surging up. Covering my face with one hand, I search myself for answers. It's then that I realize that while my thoughts are all over the place, my head's clearer than usual. Come to think of it, I didn't get any warning signals for any of the Chimera attacks, like I do with the Grim. Whatever is stopping our magic and semblance must be blocking my connection to Crescent Rose as well. It's somewhere, hiding nearby. Just spawning like a fish, or a spider, perhaps. Okay, what are you two talking about? Let's get out of here first, back to the camp. We need to evacuate everyone to Vale immediately. Alright, as we are approaching the 1 hour mark, I think this is a good place to take a break. Wow, this has been a batshit crazy episode. I think it's really interesting that the portal to Pyrrha's realm has not only been the most difficult for Ruby to open physically, but it actually contains a story that is the most tumultuous and divisive. Like in the plane of Mishklas, Weiss's plane, everything seems to be under control. There's not a lot of conflict about. Then we get to Heping, which is Ren and Nora's plane. There is some conflict, but the dragon monks and Ren's mother are keeping it under control. But then when we get to Pyrrha's realm, whose name I can't currently remember, everything is just chaos. Like a nation of people splintered by civil war, and then these monsters hunting them like rats, and then we find out that they've been infected by Grim blood, and that wasn't something that the Grim themselves did, it was something that human scientists did? Like, that's crazy. Now this information is just absolutely damning. Like, how much damage it could do, I don't know, but this is something that Ruby and her court and Pyrrha are going to have to deal with in the following episodes, and I really look forward to how they're going to get themselves out of this one, because we really do need to rely on Pyrrha and her realm to fight the Grim in our plane, but it seems like they have a lot of things to sort through first on their own. And last but not least, I really want to talk about Penny. It was really good to see her again, and to see that part when she was reflecting on her own existence as she was looking at those test tubes with the chimeras inside. And that was like a very somber moment. It was written really well, and like that part where Penny leaned into Ruby for just a second before leaving, like that was just really, really emotional. I just feel so bad for Penny. Like, she's in so much turmoil right now. The fact that she knows that she's dying, that her father was the one who imprisoned her and tried to kill her almost, and now to learn that her existence as an automaton is somewhat similar to the creation of the Chimera. Like, it's just, I can't even begin to imagine how that must feel for Penny, and like, her writing in this episode was done very well, I think. And I hope we get to spend more time with her, you know, time that's more happy and cheerful and uplifting rather than depressing and dark and deathly like this. But yeah, overall, great episode. I can't wait to play the next episode. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Ruby Summer Rose Court. Until then.
You so fucking precious when you smile. Yeah. Girl, I lose myself up in those eyes.